You hide it. Now, folks, you know that I'm a big Apple aficionado, but you also know that I don't, buy what you want. I don't ever tell anybody what they have to do. Let's tell you what I like. I like to share my passions. And I got a note today from a friend of mine this is fascinating. This guy is as well-versed in politics. He understands media bias. He understands the bias that takes place in polling. He understands instinctively everything about politics. So he sends me a note that he's upset at the latest ad that Apple is running on TV. And it's basically a bunch of people using Apple products, and the ad features touchy-feely kind of text and audio, and it ends up designed in California. That's our signature. And we go, blah, 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 blah. This guy sends me a note. Don't these people at Apple and part of the story was that there is a survey that the American people hate that ad. That ad probably going to be pulled pretty soon, this latest Apple ad, because it's rating really low down there. Only 26% of people have seen the ad like it. So this guy sends me the note saying, why do these people at Apple, do they understand we don't care about California? Why can't they say made in America? And I said, do you understand? I said, I was very patient. I said, this is a teachable moment here, folks. This ad that Apple is running, whether you've seen it or not, I don't care. There is a story. It's all over the tech media. It's all over the advertising media, all over the advertising community. This ad is not liked at all by the American consumer. Do you know who did the survey? The advertising agency for Samsung. Apple's chief rival. Apple's chief rival, Ace Metrics or something is the name of the advertiser. They do all of Samsung's advertising and marketing. They're the ones reporting that nobody likes the Apple commercial. They're trying to get the commercial pulled because it's probably very effective. It took me 3 emails to explain this guy. I said, do you understand the correlation to American politics? I said, look at you. You're not skeptical at all about what you see in tech media. You're not skeptical at all. You see a story, nobody likes the Apple ad. You don't care who ran the poll. I'm not being critical. And finally, I was able to get through, but even I don't think I actually fully did. Here you have Apple's number one rival report, and none of the tech media is reporting that it's Samsung's agency that did the survey that shows most Americans hate the Apple ad. Now, Apple, like everybody at top, doesn't say. They don't respond to this stuff. They just keep doing what they do. And which is in their minds build the best stuff, and it speaks for itself. Apple fans, by the way, wish they would speak out against this, but they never do. They never refute any of this stuff. They let their products do the talk. Anyway, so I said, do you understand the correlation here? You instinctively understand that a poll done by the Washington Post that is bad for Romney may be on purpose because they're trying to affect public opinion, not report it. They're trying to change. They're trying to create public opinion against Romney. I totally understood that. So it was a great illustration. This is the way low information people see political news. Just like you don't know the full details of the story on the Apple ad, you totally believe it. You believe everything you read, and you got mad at Apple. Well, imagine low-information Americans dealing with politics that way. They're not skeptical of any of it. They're not skeptical of the drive-bys. They believe everything in the drive-bys that they see. So what the Samsung advertising agency is trying to do to Apple has been done to the Republican Party by the Democrat Party and its advertising agency, so to speak. And I actually think, I had somebody tell me yesterday that they think so little is making sense of the Republican Party these days for that. And welcome back. Great to have you here, folks. Open Line Friday, Rush Limbaugh, the EIB network. I've got this Apple ad coming up here. This is the audio of it. I've checked the email, And this apparently I went through it too fast, or I didn't explain it well, or maybe this is not as crystal clear to everybody as it is to me, which again is disappointing. But I'm gonna try to explain it again to what is happening here, because it has a beeline correlation to politics and low information voters and the way they see and react to things. It's one of the best teachable moments that's presented itself. Now, this Apple ad, put aside for the moment, if you will, folks, that I'm an Apple guy. I like their products. Put that aside for a moment. Apple's running an ad. You may have seen it. It's called Our Signature. I have the ad. I have the audio of the ad. It's a very visual ad. It is still shots of people using Apple products. And there's some narration to it. There's not a lot. Very economical with the words. But I want, and of course has a music bed. I want to play it for you. And then try to walk you through the reaction to the ad in the tech media and in the advertising community. And now keep in mind that Apple's stock price has plummeted from just last year at $705 to now under $400. Their profits are still through everything about, they just haven't had a new product in a few months. There's a lot going on here that is, it's directly relatable to politics. And I want to try to make that connection here. So set aside what you think about Apple. If you don't like them because a bunch of Silicon Valley weenies and leftists, and put that aside. This is a teachable moment here. Here first is the Apple ad called Our Signature.
This is it. This is what matters. The experience of a product. How will it make someone feel? Will it make life better? Does it deserve to exist? We spend a lot of time on a few great things until every idea we touch enhances each life it touches. You may rarely look at it, but you'll always feel it. This is our signature, and it means everything.
Now, at that point, this is our signature. The graphic on the screen is designed by Apple in California. Okay? Now, that's the ad. Earlier this week, I'll try to explain this chronologically. Earlier this week, a story hit the tech media and the advertising media that only 26% of people who see the ad like it. That it's a dud. That the ad is a dismal failure. And the story is reporting that only 26% of the American people who see the ad like it. The story is also predicted that Apple will have to pull this ad very soon because people really don't like it. That it is really hurting Apple. 2 days after I saw the first story, I then learned that the company that did the survey of people taking their opinions is the advertising agency for Samsung. Ace Metrics. They do the ads for Samsung. They do the marketing for Samsung. They are part of the primary rivalry to Apple, Samsung, in the mobile phone business. And I said, wait a second. That corrupts the whole report. That corrupts the whole survey. That just renders it irrelevant. It has to be biased. This is part of a campaign to besmirch it. It'd be no different if whatever your business is, if your chief rival puts out a story saying everybody hates your product. But that fact isn't known. It appears to be a totally objective survey, a totally objective poll, a totally objective company doing it. So you read the story and, what, this Apple ad, well, it's really been, nobody likes the Apple ad. And don't tell you, none of the stories, even now, include the fact that the company that does the survey is in the employ of Samsung. From the article on this in Advertising Age, since May, Samsung has had 8 ads that scored an average of over 600, according to Ace Metrics. Apple's new ad, which calls the words designed by Apple in California our signature, and it means everything, scored 528 versus the industry average of 603. So not only do only 26% of people who see the ad like it, it's scoring way below the industry average in all ads. But nobody's telling anybody that the company doing this works for Samsung, is hired by Samsung. So today I get an email from a guy who's all upset at Apple over the ad because he doesn't like people in California. He's a big political guy. He's as versed on politics as anybody I know is. He just, nothing gets past him. You can't fool him on it. He said, why do these people out in California, why do we care what goes on in California? Why couldn't they say designed in America by Apple? So I wrote him back. I said, you're missing the point. And I told him the story I just told you. He didn't understand it at first. So I drew an analogy. This is a direct correlation to American politics. Look what we have here. We have you, talking to my friend. You're totally believing of everything you read in the tech media. You're not skeptical at all. You're just a consumer. You don't care. You're not invested in it. All you are is a consumer. You read a story. Nobody likes the Apple ad. You don't like California, so Apple ad's a double whammy in your mind. You hate Apple, you hate California, you don't like anything coming out of there, and you think they're a bunch of arrogant SOBs. The fact of the matter is, you're not skeptical, so you don't care. You don't even know that the report on Apple's ad may be full of garbage. It may be totally bogus. It may be part of a campaign by an Apple competitor to actually have a successful Apple ad pulled. By the way, which is all fair and fine and dandy with me. I mean, capitalism is, this is the nature of competition. I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm not belly aching or whining or moaning for Apple. If Samsung can pull this off, more power to them. But what does it require? It requires a gullible, unskeptical, totally accepting public. Okay, now let's take it to politics. I submit to you that the same thing happens to the Republican Party every day. In the news media, they're reported to what? Hate gays, hate women, hate blacks, hate this, hate that, racist, sexist, bigot, homophobes. Who's reporting this? Polling units were owned and operated by partisan Democrats. Who sees these polls? Low information voters, people who are not skeptical at all. They don't dig deep. They don't care that the Washington Post runs its own poll. They don't know who Gallup is. They just see this stuff and they automatically eat it up. And they believe it. But yet, the same kind of sophisticated people who are able to understand that about politics themselves are fooled by the same thing happening to Apple. Now, let's take a look at Apple versus the Republican Party. The Republican Party doesn't respond to any of this stuff, and you get livid. Bush didn't respond to any of the attacks on him. Karl Rove has since admitted it might have been a mistake they made. They don't respond. Apple doesn't respond. But what's the difference in Apple and the Republican Party? Apple is acknowledged as the best. Apple's number one. Apple's on top. Apple lets their product speak for it. They do not get down in the gutter. They may run similar type competitive campaigns against Samsung. I don't know. But this one, I don't believe is up and up. Ace Metrics puts out news that nobody likes an Apple ad, and they work for Samsung. Right there, I just discount everything that Asymmetrics is telling. I don't care how valid their survey is or how pure it might be, how unbiased it might have been, the fact that it's Samsung's age and nobody's telling. I mean, I had to dig deep to find this. This is not being reported. Well, the same thing in politics, folks. The people with the bias and the people whose vested interest in the Republican Party destroying itself, they're not reported as having anything to do with any of the stories that cast the Republican Party in a bad light, or conservatives. Take your pick. So to me, it was a real fascinating thing, because even after taking time to explain it, my friend still wasn't all that interested. He still had so much animus for a company that would brag about being in California that he didn't care about how the ad agency ripping the Apple ad was actually bought and paid for by Samsung. But he cares deeply about the left-wing media and all of its allies besmirching the Republican Party. But this is how it happens. This is, this guy and most other, they're not skeptical. Let's see this report in the Apple ad, think the ad's horrible. Apple's troubles continue. That's it. Not skeptical. Don't care to find out who did the survey. Same thing with low information voters in politics, folks. That's a teachable moment. And so the question becomes, how do you reach them? How do you reach people who just automatically believe everything they see in the media? How do you reach them? And that, frankly, has been one of the unstated but primary objectives I've had in this program, is reaching people like that, making the complex understandable, doing the job the mainstream media used to do, uncovering the deceit from all of this garbage and exposing it. I got to take a break now because I'm way long. We'll be back and continue after this.